Hello Libra and welcome to my channel. I am Ulrich. I'm a Lenormand card reader, but this time we will use a financial deck for your card reading. The deck contains 44 cards and the laying is done with 3 cards, as you see here in front of me. You can also see 4 objects here on the table, meaning we will do 4 card readings for each astrological sign for this month of July 2021. And this video here is for Libra. From these 4 objects you see here, you choose one or you pick one that you think relates most to your personality, or you choose one you feel most comfortable with. This object of your choice should or will relate the best to your current financial situation or the advice that you are receiving from the cards regarding that financial situation. Of course, you can watch all 4 videos related to the Libra sign, and after you watched all 4 videos, then you can decide what symbol or object is fitting your personal card reading or financial situation the best. The matches here represent the fire element, the aerosol sprayer represents the air element, the stone represents the earth element, and the shell represents the water element. So here we go with all the readings for the sign of Libra. Hello Libra, and the next reading we're gonna do is for the matches group or the fire sign. So as you can see here, the first card here, it represents deals, discounts. I explain. Probably you like the satisfaction when you buy a discounted item. Maybe you check out the sections of liquidations in the hope to find the beautiful object or the piece of clothing or something else that is maybe not necessary. You try to find a product for a ridiculous amount that has been discounted and discounted. This card asks you to understand that every time you buy an item at a discount, you only get a good deal if you're actually able to buy that item at a lower price than the full price. So it asks you not to be overwhelmed or be bewitched by the sales or the discounts, but it asks you to keep cool and question yourself. The price might be reasonable and sound reasonable, but the question above all is, do you need it? Maybe this card is telling you that you're always looking for discounts and you spend more money than you actually anticipated. And the question again, is it really necessary? The cards ask you if you are one of those people who sometimes buy in bulk, buy bargains, and find themselves at the end of the month giving it away to a neighbor, giving it away to a friend, throw it away, or bring to the second-hand store. This card actually asks you if you're really economizing this way. It also tells you not to overflow your house with items that will only accumulate and maybe you bring it later to recycling or you just throw away. So this card says to you, ignore it, offer discounts and liquidations, and you will get a good deal in your own wallet. So this card asks you to ignore discounts and deals. The middle card here we see is a little bit in contradiction with the rest, but later we will accumulate or we put the cards together and make a synthesis of it. Here, in the middle card, you see an inheritance. This card tells you if you are one of these people, or it asks you if you one of the people who consider it unnecessary to accumulate savings for retirement, because it also speaks of retirement. Maybe you think that a large inheritance or a large piece of land that you inherit from your parents is at your doorstep. This card tells you not to be fooled. Maybe it's utopian, and it's dangerous to rely on parents' inheritance to purely finance your older age. unless, of course, they are already very unfit. The question here asks, or what is said here to you, is that you are not a cur and that you not exactly read their will. And are you sure that you are their sole heir or beneficiary? Or maybe they benefited your sister, a neighbor. You don't know. And if they did, will you be their sole heir until their last breath? This card asks you not to make this mistake. First, we need to consider that the life expectancy of older people has exploded over the past years, over the few decades. So it's likely that your parents will live longer, much longer than their ancestors. And as they get older, of course, they gradually need all their savings for paying services, for being maintained, for being in the elderly home, for their survival and their conditions. Of course, no one can blame them because they worked for the money. Secondly, each individual has the right to change their testamentary at any time at free will. You never know if your mother or father will not succumb to the young Venus or the young Cupid living next door, or somebody they met on the internet. And if he will not decide to favor her or him in the expense of the descendants, meaning including you. An inheritance can be a part of a retirement analysis, but nonetheless, it needs to be treated as imponderable. You need to consider that with medical advancement these days, you can find yourself with a living parent living till the age of 80. So this card tells you to plan your old days independently and rely more on yourself. And if you do so, you will make progress yourself and you will consider yourself as a winner. The last card we see here is a little bit related to the previous card. This card says, save money automatically. What does that mean? Well, one of the most efficient and simple ways to save money is to organize like systematic savings. For instance, you go to a bank, you put an order in the bank for annually taking a certain amount of money from your account and put it in your savings account. Or you do with your phone or with your laptop, and you make some order in your accounts for transferring an amount of money automatically in your savings account. Of course, you first need to decide what you can miss, what you can spare, and you need to incalculate this in your budget. And of course, you need to invest this on a recurring basis. So you do this monthly, it's a fixed amount. This money that you save then over the months to come, because this is for the month of July we're speaking here, you can then invest maybe by the end of the year in a portfolio, maybe something that brings your interest and that you have a good feeling about, like you can make an investment, a solid investment. For this adjustment, a human being generally takes about 3 to 6 months to incorporate these new expenses within the budget. When you have passed this period of disbursement, you can either increase the disbursement, or you can make it less because you need to see you can cope. So after a while, you could end this by the end of the year. Let's say you could ask with like various reserves for your retirement, savings for your children, for the project that you already have for a long time in your mind, or maybe a trip you wanted to make for several years. So by regularly increasing these amounts over the months to come, you will quickly accumulate a large sum of money. So this card urges you to set up savings and discipline yourself. So you begin a virtuous circle that will lead you to more security and more financial stability. So we make the synthesis here now. This one tells you to ignore discounts and unnecessary things to buy, tells them to ignore them. Don't count on others, including your parents, for helping you financially, and systematically save your money in the months to come so you can improve financially yourself. So Libra, this is all for the matches group. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Hello Libra, and welcome to the Aerosol or the air group for the next reading of Libra for July 2021. So the first card we see here, it relates to publicity and the effect that it has on you and on yourself. This card says that publicity probably has a certain effect on you in your life. If we see this in a broader prospect, according to several studies, the average individual is confronted with thousands of ads a day on the internet. We receive them at home. We see them on buses. We see them on flyers. We see them everywhere. Who could be insensitive to this bombardment? Because that's what it is, of all this information. It's a propaganda, but it's obvious everywhere. It tells you, this card, that it's easy to be fooled and to imagine needs and mix them up with things that are, in fact, not essential. It asks you to make the distinguishment between things that are necessities and things that have an influence on us as an article. So the question is here, how do we survive, or how do we ignore without losing a form of direction? Well, also it's important that we realize this continuous pressure of marketing. So it urges you to stop reading the flyers, ignore the publicity that you see. And also, if you're into gadgets, because this is about gadgets also, if you're in tech gadgets, stop searching for them and compare your situation, your current situation, and be happy with the laptop that you have, with your phone that you have, with your Android phone that you have. Don't reach for the next new level. Just be happy what you have, maintain your devices that you have, and compare your situation with the situation of communication you had your parents years ago. I'm aware that the time has changed, but still, you need to see it in the correct daylight. This card asks you to take a critical look, rather than being envious or maybe jealous about these recent trends or fashions, because actually you can just ignore them or dispose of them even. This card asks you to be realistic, and if you are realistic and you are critical in your looks, you will see the whole thing in a totally different perspective. So don't get carried away and stay focused and be critical and realistic. The next card that you see here, it relates to creativity. As I said here, it relates a little bit to maintaining our things, because in this world we can buy everything. Our current society, it suffocates our wallet and also our imagination. So, and in the end, we pay for our lack of creativity for things that we probably already have, things that we already can use, but we just don't know the applications of them. So an example is, for instance, you could probably design something yourself with your devices that you have, or if it's related to a gift that you need to give, for instance, for a nephew or for a loved one, instead of buying the gadget, you just create it yourself. Maybe you have some things there left over, used things, and you can make yourself, like, for instance, like a nice storage box with recycled materials. But of course, maybe here this card says you prefer to shop for several hours around, and maybe you pay a big amount of money for this object that you want to have. With a little bit inventiveness, you could prepare a party for your son or daughter, and everybody will have a lot of fun without you have to settle with an astronomical bill. You can make the cake yourself. You can, if you don't know how to do, you can ask the local, your neighbor for baking a cake for you. So you can reduce your expenses in that way. This card tells you to spend your money in an original way. It's asked you to be creative and to think about what you could do yourself, and at the same time save money by not buying unnecessary gadgets and things that you actually can produce yourself. It asks you to make room for your imaginative spirit in your kitchen, in the office, on your laptop, in your management, in your family. So it asks you to go on an adventure of saving money. So the next card is about keeping everything in balance and keeping everything in proportion. As we know, everything is relative, and we can only estimate the value of our money if we put it in relationship to our personal reality. For example, a monthly payment for the loan for someone's home, it don't have the same effect for a two-earning couple or a couple that earns well as it has on a single parent. The same example goes for that $2 or €2 does not have the same consequences for a low-income family as it has for a high-heeled family or a rich family. The real cost of buying a computer, it's not the same for everyone. Here also, you can balance, you can be creative, and if this computer would be needed, you can buy a second-hand or used computer that you buy from a friend you can trust, or in a mall, you have a trusted address. You can be creative with your money. It's a simple concept that prices are not the same for everyone. So, but for many of us, it's difficult to grasp. Maybe you don't count your expenses in terms of amounts, but you tell, oh, it's only like 10% of my salary, or it's only this, and it's all. But if you make the whole calculation, you end up with a big amount. So this card tells you to keep everything in proportions. It asks you to see the relationship of magnitude between the cash outflow and the money that you earn with your salary. It's probably you who does the counting and the calculations, and also includes your fixed payments. And you are the one probably who need to keep this all in balance. So this card tells you to keep your expenses balanced. It asks you also that you need to relativize your current expenses, and you need to educate yourself more on the ratios considered respectable and viable. It asks you, before you buy something, before you decide something, you take your calculator, you deduct it from your salary, or you do the exercise mentally. The question then is, and when you make these calculations, are there things that are out of proportion? Things that are out of balance? So this card asks you to, actually it asks you if you live beyond your means or out of proportion. You are the one who can answer that question. So coming back, don't be influenced by publicity for buying the latest gadgets. Maintain what you have. Use the articles that you have or the objects that you have on their full capacity. Then here, be creative with everything you have, also with the money that you have, And the last card, of course, it says then keep everything that you have learned here in a certain balance and proportion. So this is all for the aerosol or the air group, Libra. I hope you enjoyed my reading. Thank you for watching and see you next time. So welcome, Libra. This time we will continue with the stone group or the earth group. So the first card you see here is, it says superficious expenses. What does that mean? So this card asks you how many purchases that you made lately that you are actually would have been able to avoid. How much money has gone up did you spend without actually generating its value? It asks you a few minutes of your time to assess your expenses for the latest months or the latest days. It asks you to output your bills, your credit, your debit cards, your statements, and see what is really there. What are the disbursements that you have already forgotten about, the small expenses that you have forgotten about, all the small things, the small gadget that you maybe could have done without. It asks you to calculate the sum of these small incidental costs. Probably you would have able to avoid them. If you calculate this, it asks you what could you have offered yourself that was really essential with that same money. Mostly like the majority of the population, we are all spending a lot of more money on frivolous purchase and gadget than we think, and this card includes you. This tells you to limit your extras, and it urges you to save that money and accumulate this money to a certain attractive amount for maybe to make an investment, to invest in your retirement, maybe a trip that you want to make for a long time, or maybe a repayment of open standing debts. This is what this card is about. It asks you to take the opportunity to think about these unnecessary purchases, and it asks you to reflect about these habits you have about buying superficial things. If you do so and you think about it wisely, probably you will have made a healthy step forwards regarding your financial situation. The next card that we see here relates to overconsumption. We all live in a world of overconsumption. We are daily confronted with advertisements. So maybe your definition of essential obligations and goods is no longer the same as it was during the time of our parents or our grandparents. These people were aspired to provide for basic necessities and basic needs. As we all know, times have evolved, and the basic needs nowadays include smartphones or a cell phone. It's unthinkable to get rid of it, and also the internet is part of the game. For many people also, we need to travel or to relax. So it means this card that our society has evolved and the essential goods have been replaced by other essential needs. So this card asks you to evaluate your real needs within this whole new context of society. And since we know that it's no longer necessary and we are technologically more advanced, it asks you also to ask yourself a question and This question would be, are you more happy or unhappy than your ancestors because of these gadgets? Maybe it's comparable with a drug, because overconsumption, it can fuel and it can blur our perspective. Some people of us, they collapse under unnecessities, and we lose our track of the real essence of life. Hyperconsumption, it's like it's blinding people. This card asks you to determine what are your minimum basic needs and estimate what are your non-essential expenses. It asks you also, would your daily life be so much worse with all these superficial attributes? Of course, we stay also realistic, and we know that some things cannot be written off. But it tells you to live according to your basic needs, not what people tell you, not what society suggests to you. If you make up your own mind and you keep the influence out from other people, from the society in a whole, this card tells you you will be better off. The last card may be a little bit out of proportion, but because it actually relates to the holidays. Or maybe it still relates, and then it would apply that maybe you have been generous during Christmas, Easter, and Valentine. Maybe you spend a lot of money to a loved one, to a child, for these holidays, and this card tells you that you need to realize the commercialization of this whole thing. It's not a question, or either we buy something for Valentine or for a birthday, we buy chocolate, flowers, whatever, for a loved one or for a child. But this card tells you that society, and probably you yourself, we have lost the very reason for what constitutes the basis, the essence of these festivities, these holidays, these celebrations. Whether they are religious or not, this is not the topic here, but Christmas, for example, it gradually changed into a status from sacred holiday to a celebration of abundance. So it's like we forget at that time our financial goodwill. We are good-hearted, and we are budgeting and overindulging ourselves in spending money. Of course, the month later, then we have the horror of the next month, and some of us even pay longer for the gifts we given to our loved ones or the people that we cherish. The problem is when the invoices arrive and when the invoices come. This card tells you to remember birthdays, festivals, sacred days, that you need to learn about these origins, what they really mean, what their essence is. What is the essence of Christmas, Easter, Valentine? It asks you to inform yourself about their real value and the meaning of it. Whether it's your belief or not, it's not important here, but it asks you to put these things and these celebrations in their historical context. Give them back the sincere meaning rather than relate them to overconsumption. It also tells you, if you buy a gift for a loved one, it's best to remember that maybe the love of that person towards you will not grow. That person will not love you less because the gift is smaller. It asks you to balance and not to overconsume here in context. Just keep things balanced. So it asks you also not to be fooled by society, by commercialization, by ads that come on us for these holidays. It asks you to put them where they are, to have relative them. The gifts that it's an expression of a feeling. It's not about quantity or the price that should come first, but the attention that you give to the loved one. So we summarize here. Be aware of discounts, unnecessary purchases, things that you don't actually need. Just let them for what they are. Be aware of overconsumption, and don't think that your loved one will love you less because you are not able to buy them a certain gift. That is what this message for Libra, for the Stone Group means for this month of July 2021. So thank you, Libra, for watching, and see you next time. Hello, Libra, and welcome to the people of the Shell Group or the Water Group. Thanks for tuning in. So the first card you see here is the card. It's not an easy card. It's the card that represents bankruptcy or severe financial problems. But since it's in the past and there's a lucky card next to it, I'm assuming that your financial situation in the past was not so easy. Maybe you still have some issues with it, or you still wake up and worry about the money. And if you still have a balance deficit, or you reached, or you have a difficult point, you should consider ask some help, maybe from a specialist, maybe from a banker, for improving your financial situation. That is what the card says here. Inform yourself with a professional, and then maybe for getting out of this situation, if it's not already in the past, you need to, this card tells you to offer all the choices that are offered to you. You need to wisely choose between the options that you get, see the advantages and disadvantages that you have if you were in a severe problem before. You also need to understand that these decisions will have a severe impact on your budget. Make sure that you understand the impact of this, and it has to do with your future. You will need to make some cutbacks probably. For some of us, a bankruptcy is simple. It allows them to start easy from scratch, but for other people, however, it's a more tricky situation. It has consequences, and some of us really need to radically change our consumption habits, our lifestyle, our cars. Sometimes it's a very complex process that goes on. If you pass that point, and you're already in the positive way, that's fine. If you're not, try to inform you, as I said. If you are still modifying and the situation is still very bad, try to modify your behavior. Try to spend less on unnecessary things. Change your buying patterns. Maybe you have no choice, or maybe you are wise enough to do so. If you're not, this card tells you that you might hit the wall. This card makes you reflect on your situation today, and it tells you to change your behavior patterns, and if you're in the situation, to adjust to the concept or the things that you are facing now. But I'm thinking this is in the past, because the card next to it is the card of luck. This card says that money does not bring happiness, but we need to say that it makes life easy. The first thing, of course, we need to do is to meet our basic needs. We have psychological and security needs. We need a house, we need food, we need warmth, we need a ventilator. Sometimes we need aircon if we live in very hot areas. However, it would be wrong that luxurious articles like a car or a luxurious pant or a dress, it would be not wise to think that these are essential needs, because they are not. So it asks you also, if you come out of these financial difficult period, maybe before you had more luxurious, it asks you to realize your basic needs, and it asks you to try to relax and adjust to your current situation. Of course, everybody likes to have more, to travel more, to spend more, but we need to place everything in its context. Also, you need to see your situation will improve, because this is what it means here. It goes better. But if you earn more, and let's assume tomorrow you have more, will you be completely happy? This is what this card asks you. Will you feel totally complete? So it tells you also, if you come out of a difficult situation, to take a break. And you need to think about this pursuit of happiness, where it is specifically for you. What makes you happy? Do you associate it with a high standard of living? Or with what does it associate, or how does it relate to you? You also need to think, if money was so strongly connected to absolute happiness or joy, then why are some of the very rich unhappy? They see their money as a burden. So we need to ask ourselves that question also. Of course, money is essential in order to meet our basic needs. However, when the basic needs are fulfilled, our quest does not depend solely on financial achievements. But maybe it's related to, as I said earlier, to your personal happiness, the things that make you tick, the things that make you joyful. It tells you, this card, to enjoy the little things in life, to appreciate those around you, and to respect and be happy what you already own. Because sometimes love can also, or appreciation, or things that we already own, this could be the real deal. Maybe it's already in your reach. This is what this card says. The next card is related to happiness. It may be a little bit odd in this context, but we try to explain. You probably know the saying, boys will be boys and girls want to have fun. So probably also in previous time, you had some financial recklessness in the past, but maybe it cost you dearly. Maybe you suffered the impact of some outbursts you had. This has also, regardless a person, his age, cash management and optimization requires maturity. The awareness of this is accentuated and perfected as we grow older. This is the normal cycle of life, as we all know. However, people who are at a younger age and able to control the consumption, their consumption habits, in general come out strongly favored compared to people who have more problems with their consumption behavior. So this card tells you to reflect over new ideas, to compare your situation with others. Related to that next card again, how happy are you? Where exactly are you positioned? This card asks you questions. Are you mature? Do you still have spendthrift? Or are you already financial wise and successful? Success, of course, it has many definitions. Remember, you are never too old to change behaviors and never too young to be financially wise. If you have the advantage here of the youth, knows that your efforts will be greatly rewarded in the years to come. Also, if you're younger and you're in a difficult, very difficult situation, these are two very good cards for the future. It's only for this month, but I think in the months to come, your financial situation will drastically improve. This is what I think here. So, as I said, if you're younger, you will be rewarded in the months and the years to come. If you are older, this tells you to be wise and use your age advantage and your personal experience for your financial benefits in the months and years to come. So this is actually what this laying says for the shell group. So we summarize. If you're in a financial difficult situation, try to let you help for getting out of it. Ask financial advice. Ask how you can get out of this situation if you don't know how to get it out. Here now, I would say that luck for you is to come. But you need to balance here. Maybe you are in a very difficult situation here. You needed to do a lot of efforts. And maybe it's time to balance how much money that really makes you happy and what really makes you tick. And then the last card here is that we need to, no matter our age, we need to be able to be wise with our money, with the things that we have already. And we need to continue our life with it. So Libra, this is all for the shell group or the water group. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Feel free to subscribe to my channel and see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.